Hello, everybody. Breaking news out of Buffalo. Sean McDermott fired by the Buffalo Bills. We will break it down and talk all about it. The Manchild Show with Boy Green, digital, live, starts early today, and it starts right now.
Let's go! It's time for the talk to you. 'Cause when it's for, it's always coming through. And Boy Green is always on the scene. And what you're always bringing to your life, singing. So get ready, ready. Get ready, 'cause here they come.
All right, welcome aboard, everybody. Happy Monday live show. Yes, we're here a little early, about an hour early today, but that's understandable considering what has just happened out of Buffalo. Hot breaking news. Sean McDermott fired by the Buffalo Bills, coming off, of course, that heartbreaking loss in Denver. We'll talk about the play. I thought that was going to be topic A today. Was it a catch? Was it a turnover? Which way would you go on this one? I mean, man, it seems like one of those 50-50 kind of things, but that's not topic A this morning. The head coach, who's been there for 9 full seasons. All right, he's been in the league for 17 years, spent the rest of his time as a defensive coordinator, both with Philadelphia and then Carolina before he becomes the head coach of the Bills. This guy's been through heck and more with the Buffalo Bills, including, of course, the Damar Hamlin moment there, that evening game where we all sat there with bated breath wondering if this guy was going to be okay. Thank God he was. A lot of connections to Bills Mafia and the Bills community. So this is more than just a football coach no longer coaching a football team. This is a guy that was very connected to the Buffalo community, now no longer in his job. By the way, the one other thing we know before I pass it over to my partner, Boy Green, for his take on this is Brandon Beane, the general manager at this point, we have heard is still in his job. So he was obviously part of this decision, but I'm sure that ownership obviously was in on this as well, and maybe they were ultimately the linchpin here in making this happen. Boy Green, give me your immediate take. Man, I can't believe it. I'm shocked.
Yeah. And just to carry over real quick on the Brandon Beane thing, similar to your Giants situation, Lurch, the initial phrasing from ownership is that Brandon Beane will lead the search to find the next head coach the same
Sounds
way
like a Joe
the
Shane
Giants
situation.
Yeah, right. But even still, even though they said that, I think a lot of us were on pins and needles. Is Joe Shane really safe? And then when it got into the heat of the Harbaugh thing, we're like, oh my God, is he about to like Trent Baalke in Jacksonville? Yeah, they said he was safe, and then all of a sudden he wasn't. So we weren't sure about that in the Shane situation. Obviously, it all cleared out, and Shane's there, and we can talk about that later. But for the Bills thing, it seems like at this point, Brandon Beane will lead the search. Just to say this, I mean, did I think it was possible? Yes. I did. When Sean McDermott was going crazy and calling the Buffalo News from the team plane and explaining the play and his thoughts on, you just felt like only a person would react that way. How does someone think? I go back to Game of Thrones, Peter Baelish. How does one think? Put yourself in their shoes and think about their motives. Why would they be doing what they do? And that could sort of explain what they're going through. And only a person on the hot seat would have been doing those kind of things or feeling the heat of the situation. And the crazy thing is that Sean McDermott, 9 seasons in Buffalo, 8 playoff appearances, 98-50 regular season record, 5 AFC East titles, fired. And to me, if you're a Bills person out there, this is a ballsy move. And here's what I mean. Because Sean McDermott was a good coach. He was. Look at all those things I just said. He took them from the doldrums. They were in the middle of the 17-year playoff drought during his tenure there, and he ended that drought. That's even longer than my Jets playoff drought that's going on right now. So to fire him and to try to get something better is a bold move. And again, everyone wants to fire people. Who the hell are you replacing them with? And the thing if you're a Jets fan watching this right now, and I did a short on my channel, whoo, thank God the Bills won last week. Because if the Bills were willing to fire him after the divisional round, you think they would have definitely been willing to fire him after the wild card round. And they missed out on 3 candidates that are gone. John Harbaugh went to your Giants. I imagine he would have been very titillated by the possibility to be with the reigning MVP,
Absolutely.
Josh Allen. So John Harbaugh off the market. Thank God, no chance there. Matt LaFleur re-signed. He signed an extension a couple of days ago with the Green Bay Packers. They could have traded for Matt LaFleur, and he could have been like, whoa, Buffalo, Josh Allen. And then, of course, the third one of that group, and I put him third for a reason, Kevin Stefanski. two-time coach of the year. I was sort of down on him, 8 wins over the last 2 years, but he goes to Atlanta. The timing of this, if you're a Jets fan, is like, thank God, because a lot of spectacular candidates can no longer go there. Now, I have no idea if this just happened. I have no idea who the hell they're going to hire, but they lost out on some big-time candidates because of that win. So if you're a Jets fan watching this, great. If you're a Bills fan, boy, I don't know who's at the top of this list because a lot of candidates are gone already.
Yeah, I agree. I'm very happy as a Giants fan that, this isn't, that Harbaugh's not still out there because
Right? Oh my God.
tantalizing. I mean, you go from Jackson Dart, who's a promising quarterback, to the guy who's the reigning MVP. That's pretty titillating. I mean, because everybody knows that's a coach. Having the franchise quarterback is the cornerstone to every winning franchise these days. And so to have a guy who is locked, all right, and is arguably one of the best players in the NFL, not just at the position, but period, as your guy to go forward, regardless of what the rest of the roster is. I don't even care. I mean, when you have that, you have, kind of the golden ticket in a lot of ways. And now you just got to, enhance the roster around him. Plus, you have a fan base in Buffalo. I know Buffalo isn't the biggest market in the world. It's not all that far from where we are. But it is as loyal a fan base as a city as you'll ever find in the NFL. Could be number one in terms of that regard. So they really, really embrace their people in Buffalo. They embrace their causes. They're just a great, great, hearty group. So it is kind of cool to be the head coach in Buffalo, despite the lack of market size. It's not LA. It's not New York. It's, it doesn't have the sizzle maybe of some of those other places, but it has the workman-like blue collar mentality that I think a lot of football coaches, frankly, gravitate to, because coaches teach players, the blue collar mentality, hard work, get better every day, look at the film, improve. If everybody does their job and improves a little bit every day, we become greatness together. That's what makes for good football coaching and good football teams, right? So, but I am shocked in this sense that I just think that first of all, I've met the guy many times, and
we both have. Yes,
part of it is, and we know a lot of people obviously that cover the team every day. In every instance, whether it's someone, a secondary source, or myself, or you as primary sources, he's just a good dude. I mean, he's a guy who's just a good guy, salt of the earth, kind of wears it on his sleeve. I think we saw that. I know that there are a lot of people out there in the football world today that aren't Bills fans or are particularly anti-Bills fans who were kind of scoffing at a couple of things that came out of the Buffalo loss. Number one, that, Josh Allen went up to the podium in tears. There were a lot of people, oh, what a wimp, what a come on, give me a break, grow up. You had 15 minutes. You had 15 minutes to cry. Walk into the room, and compose yourself and answer some questions. So a lot of people that rub people the wrong way. It didn't rub me wrong at all. I just feel like the guy's got his heart and soul involved. But I was getting response from people I know, like, what a crybaby, give me a break, man. Come on, grow up, MVP, blah, blah, all this crazy stuff. And then McDermott obviously electing to use the bully pulpit of the post-game presser, and as you said, even beyond, to, dig in on the call that he thought should have gone the other way. And just quickly, I'll let you respond to all of that, Boy Green, because I've unpacked a lot. Just quickly, I know we'll talk about this more later. For me, the play, I think the good thing about someone like myself, I look at it this way, all right? I think I'm fairly objective because I'm not a diehard Bills fan. I might lean, hey, I wanted Buffalo to win that game, but I'm not a diehard Bills fan. I'm not going to put myself in that category. The team I root for. Everybody that watches the podcast knows what team I root for. So I think there is a level of objectivity when I look at the play. When I saw the play in real time, I thought it was a pick. Okay. Yeah. When I saw the replay and tried to apply what I believe the rules to be about catches in the NFL, which we can have a whole discussion about, I thought it should have been a catch for the Bills. But it should have been Cook's down. They're going to kick the game-winning field goal. They're going on. They're moving to them like joy, happy joy, that they're moving on. Because as you know, I picked them to go to the Super Bowl.
Yes, right.
Just rooting for my own personal, picks. No big deal again. I think I can maintain objectivity. And then after watching it over and over again, and then hearing those that really know the intricacies of the rule talk about the rule, then I was kind of waffling back to, I guess it really was an interception if this is the way the rule's supposed to be applied. This is one of those cases where the guy must survive the ground. We've heard that thing before.
Sure.
In general, I'm just going to say I hate the rule the way it stands. I hate that we have to have this unbelievably microscopic discussion about whether something's a catch or not. I've said this for years, Boy Green, so this is not changing code in any way. The rules in football, whether it be financial rules, whether it be draft rules, whether it be on-field rules, should always be easy for fans to interpret and understand. And here we are again in the great debate where 50% of the country thinks it was a horrible call and 50% of the people in the world think it was a great call. We shouldn't have that. That's bad rule then. That's bad rule making. Make the rule easy to interpret for everyone so that there is no debate. Some people would say there is no debate, but that's because you're on one side or the other. Go ahead. I'm sorry. That was a lot to unpack.
No, first up, I just have to get to this, right? So I mentioned that, from my weird Jets perspective, thank God they could have hired one of these crazy guys. And then you start to think well, okay, who could the Bills hire? Who
Yes.
emerges? Lurch, a name has started to emerge.
Okay. I wonder if it's going to be the ones on my. Can I give you my early list?
Sure. Right. Yeah. Okay.
So here's my. This is going to be a bunch of names, but here's my early list. All right. And is this the name? Okay. Let me put this guy to the front of the list.
Okay.
Even though I'm not so sure this is going to happen. Bill Belichick. Is that who you're thinking about? Is Bill Belichick?
No.
Okay.
I've got. So I want you to keep going with your answers.
Okay.
We're going to show on the screen what an insider just said seconds ago.
Okay.
And it stuns me. But go ahead.
Obviously, the potential to go to the table and try and get Mike Tomlin, but again, I still think that is what you'd have to give up. Could the Bills even manage that? It seems untenable, but wouldn't Tomlin, despite his comments so far, because go Josh Allen?
Rethink,
I get Josh Allen. Let's make the trade. I'm back. Let's go, coach. So, barring a monumental flip by him because of the opportunity to work with Josh Allen. And I think there are a lot of potential coaches and former coaches salivating at the idea that I get to work not just with a franchise quarterback, but with this guy who's an MVP candidate every year.
Right.
So that's a guy. And then Brady and Dable, the current OC and the former OC of the Bills. Obviously, he came to the Giants, blah, blah. So that's my short list right out of the box, Boy Green. Go ahead. Who's the guy that's being surfaced here? This is interesting.
You hit it at the end. NFL insider Diana Orsini says, talking to NFL executives around the league about Buffalo's next head coach options, the name that keeps coming up is a familiar one, a Buffalo native and someone Josh Allen loves, Brian Dable. Could you imagine that this guy, who again, Brian Dable was, of course, working with Josh Allen during his heyday as he was developing and everything else, and then he leaves to the Giants and has whatever you want to call his tenure with the New York Giants. He gets unceremoniously fired in the middle of the year, and then he's had one or two head coaching interviews. I think it was maybe Titans, and that's it. And then the rest have been offensive coordinator chats. And that out of nowhere, this Buffalo job emerges from the pack, and he could all of a sudden leapfrog to the front of the list to be Brian to go from Giants to Bills, and to get Josh Allen reigning MVP and then be the head coach, because apparently him, Brian Dable, and Sean McDermott rubbed poorly at the end, which is part of the reason they ended up breaking up, that he ends up replacing McDermott. This, to me, while I get all the Buffalo connective tissue, that would be stunning if they go from McDermott to Brian Dable. Oh, my goodness. Oh, wow.
And again, just to go back to Belichick for a minute, and we can vamp on this Dable thing a little bit.
Sure.
Would Belichick, I know he keeps saying he won't stay in college and yada, 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 but the opportunity to skunk his former owner, who clearly it didn't end particularly well with, wouldn't that be, wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be?
Well, sure. I'm curious.
Coaches think that way sometimes. I'd love to get back at this guy.
Yes.
So, before Belichick really truly becomes an old man, because he's getting up there,
right?
Maybe, again, a switch might flip here. I know he's been adamantly saying, I'm staying the course here, but could an opportunity like this to, again, work with an MVP caliber guy, so on and so forth?
I think, and again, I love Petty, so that 100% could be a legitimate motivation to, and it's sort of double everything, right? So if you're Bill Belichick, you have a reigning MVP. So the quarterback is solved. That's the hardest thing to solve in football. There's a lot of other stuff that need to get fixed, but you would think Bill Belichick, as this name that you've brought up here as a potential, he could skunk his former team. His former team is having all the success. They have a chance to, we'll talk about this later, but they're going to be playing Jarrett Stidham in the AFC Championship game. They get past Jarrett Stidham, they're in the friggin' Super Bowl. So for Bill Belichick to come in and say, whoa, not so fast, New England. You think a new dynasty has just started. Daddy's home and Bill Belichick's here. I mean, there'd be something pretty captivating about that. But if you're Buffalo, you have to stare yourself in the mirror and say, okay, Sean McDermott was great, but what did we think he was missing that we think someone else can replace? Because again, anytime you fire someone, you have to immediately turn around and say, well, who the hell is replacing him and who's going to be better? Because McDermott, again, I want to reiterate this, was really, really good. Did they max out with him? Obviously, Buffalo thinks so.
That's what I think.
We got as far as we could with him, and he was really good, but we're not satisfied with being really good. We want to win the Super Bowl, and he has been unable to do so with this MVP quarterback. And now we need to see if someone else. We got to shake the Etch-a-Sketch and see if someone else we can plug in that piece to the puzzle, and then all of a sudden it recalibrates here. So no, Bill Belichick should 100% be in the conversation, both from Belichick's perspective, again, back in the league and going back at him, and for Buffalo's standpoint of like, I don't see an obvious name outside of Tomlin, which we talked about at the beginning. If that would make me change my mind. Wait a second. I'm sorry. What now? Oh, sure. Yeah. Break schmake. Sorry, fam. Do you hear? Josh Allen's available. So 100%. That would spice it up too. We have a lot of comments.
Is that our pal Jake Asman in the comments there? Looking at Jake Asman. Welcome aboard, Jake.
Yes.
So Boy Green, direction towards you. Obviously, we've been having some recent conversations with Jake about Aaron Glenn and whether or not the Jets should have kept them. Jake is very, very steadfast on his position that the Jets are making a terrible mistake. They need to rethink it. And now, as these guys just become more and more available, now Sean McDermott's out there.
Yes,
Go
right.
flip to Sean McDermott and have a guy that, again, has this big track record. Give me your thoughts about what Jake is saying here.
Yeah, yes. BG, thoughts on Woody keeping the worst head coach in football? Thanks. I'll hang up and listen. Member for 18 months. Appreciate that, Jake. Here, let me throw this nugget out there because this goes to what Jake's saying, right? Nearly a third of the league has had openings this offseason. We've had 10 total openings, okay, across the entire shish kebab. But again, your Giants finally got it done with Harbaugh. That was getting a little weird and dicey, but they got John Harbaugh. He's in Giants land. Kevin Stefanski's in Falcons land. Both of them get their 5-year deals. Those are locked up. So we have 8 openings right now with Buffalo just joining the mix. And we'll get someone else brought up another opening. I'll get to that in a second about how that could affect this McDermott situation. We'll get to that in a second. But here's the nugget from Adam Schefter. I have it right here somewhere. Where is it? Oh, yeah. The 10 NFL head coach changes are the most in a single hiring cycle since there were 10 before the 2022 season. You say, 3 years or 4 years, that's not that big of a deal. But it's tied for the most all time, along with off seasons in 1978, 1997, 2006. So 2022 is sort of unique with all the openings that happened like in season and stuff. But 10, this is tied for the most all time, a third of the league roster turnover. And there are insiders at the end of the year saying, sorry guys, this might be a light year, only 4 or 5. And we've doubled that. It's up to 10. So long way of short of going back to Jake's thing here about Woody keeping the worst head coach in football. Again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I respect that Woody has conviction here, that he's not being like other people. All the cool kids are jumping off the bridge. You should jump off the bridge. Like, he has made a decision and he should stick by it. I don't want him being wishy-washy. I don't want him like what happened with Robert Saleh, who, by the way, he could get hired today for a head coaching job. The thing that I don't want is that Woody Johnson said that Saleh was good to come back in what was that, 2024? Yeah, last year. So the year before this season going on right now. In 2024, he said, Robert Saleh's my guy. I'm sticking with him. 5 weeks into the season, he changed his mind and fired him. So obviously he wasn't that committed to Robert Saleh, and he didn't. If he has that same level of commitment to AG that he says he's really for him, but 5 weeks into the season, if they're 0-5, he'd fire him, then he should fire AG right now in this very moment. And that's it. However, if he is fully committed to AG and he says, I don't care how of course he cares. He wants them to win. But if they start similarly, I'm not pulling the plug, I'm committed to AG, then he should stick to AG. He should not be influenced by what all the other kids in the neighborhood are doing here. I get it. Sean McDermott has been wildly successful. AG has been nothing. He has 1 year in the league. And we're saying, look, if the Bills are firing their guy, shouldn't we fire our guy? Sean, for the Bills in their situation, they believe they've maxed out. They believe they can't get any further with Sean McDermott, that they've peaked. AG, well, we certainly haven't peaked at 3-14. It's 1 year, and they're willing to let him see this thing through, whether you agree with it or not. A lot of people don't. So, I know it's unpopular, and I know people are going to throw heavy objects in my direction. I respect that Woody Johnson is convicted with this decision. He picked AG. He's riding with AG, and we as Jet fans need to hope that he made the right decision and he's rocking out. I'm glad that he's not just willy-nilly changing it.
Yeah, there is this thought when you follow a team, in some ways that you're following laundry in a lot of ways. We've talked about that over the years. And I think that there is this thing, regardless of whether you always agree, and a lot of times we don't, with what ownership / management is doing, we still kind of come to this conclusion a lot of times that, well, there are guys, therefore, even though I disagree, I'm going to support in some way, I'm going to stay the course. I'm going to trust, dare I say. Now, sometimes that trust is very misguided. And in the case of the Jets, I can understand the anger being out there about, the lack of trust. Like, I'm that way with the Giants. Like, I don't love a lot of the things that they did. I hated when they hired Dave Gettleman, but then once they hired him, I was like, all right, come on, let's go, Gettleman, let's do this thing.
Right.
You assimilate into, you want the team to win, you want to do the right thing, so you do. So I don't know. It's that's, to me, is that mirrors this AG thing in some way, that you just like, okay, I've pushed trust back to my ownership and my leadership group, and we've got all these picks and all these things. Now let's see what kind of fruits it creates. And if it doesn't, eventually we'll make a change. We'll probably make a change at the end of next year, I guess. But they did give this guy a 5-year contract. To me, that stings. Like 1 year in to just say, yeah, we're just going to eat 4 years and go. And then the theory is, and then go hire somebody really good. Let's just say Sean McDermott was even a target for the Jets, that's not going to come cheap. That's not going to come cheaply. Look at what Jim Harbaugh's costing the Giants.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we'll get all the details in the upcoming days here. I think they're going to do a presser tomorrow, I think was what I had heard.
Yes.
I don't know if that's official yet, but I think the Giants are going to
today, Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah,
right.
They're going to do a presser tomorrow. And then we'll obviously follow up with Ed Valentine and some of our other Giants insiders on this whole thing. And there'll be some of these details will come out, but it's in the range of $20 million a year. I know these owners are crazy rich, but
sure,
you give a guy a 5-year deal. Do you know what? I don't remember what
I do
was.
Yeah.
So how much are they paying?
So
him?
it's a 5-year deal, and there are 2 reports out. So we could go with the safer one.
All right, go ahead.
It's a 5-year deal for no less than $10 million per year. So that means it's a $50 million deal. Although one reporter reported that it's $12 million per year. So it's $60 million. So it's in the ballpark of between 50 and 60 million.
60 million.
Yeah. Are you going to light that on fire and then hire the new guy? So that doesn't count for that money. You have to pay him out and then also pay the next guy. Again, people, here's the thing, right? These are billionaires. The fans don't care about their money. Yeah. So, I understand that, but
get it.
Yeah.
Get it.
Well, okay. But Jamie here, Brian Flores, next Bills coach.
And by the way, credit to Jamie. I want to give him this credit because he'll be asking for it anyway. So let me just get it off my chest.
Sure. Right.
But Jamie we did a show many weeks ago, right before Black Monday. Where we talked about how many jobs do you think are going to be available, and I went through the list, and I said I think 8 will end up being on the table, including that Miami job. That was my last one.
Sure.
I even thought there was an outside chance. What was the job? I was not sure, but I decided to go against it. So I was 8. I would have maybe been willing to push myself to 9, but I stuck with 8.
Yeah.
Jamie said 10 right from the get-go, and unless somebody else is fired, which might happen, once this playoff ends. Jamie is right on the button. I mean, 10 jobs have come available. Now, 2 of them have since been filled. You mentioned Stefanski going to Atlanta. Obviously, Harbaugh committed now to the Giants, but there still are 8 openings out there and 10 total. Wow, that's crazy. All right, Jamie's suggestion here. Brian Flores is next Bills coach. What do you think about that one?
I like Brian Flores a lot. He had success in Miami. He knows the division, so that would be a plus for him. His defenses are spectacular. So again, in theory, you hire a that's what McDermott was. So again, you're sort of doing the same thing, but a different way. McDermott, defensive guy. Hey, but he drafted Josh Allen in the middle of this. So this wasn't the thought process when they hired McDermott because Josh Allen wasn't there yet. But now looking at it with a fresh pair of eyes, Josh Allen MVP quarterback. The offensive part is really exciting. You have to build a lot around it because there was a lot of errors and mistakes, everything with the Bills offense, but you get in an awesome defensive guy and he handles that side of the ball and Josh Allen handles the other side. In theory, that makes a lot of sense. Now, here's the problem. If it is a problem, again, I live in the same America we all do, where it's all about second chances. Brian Flores in Miami was maligned for his quarterback hedge coach relationship with Tua. It was very bad. Now, Tua has turned out to be a bad player, so Flores was right about that part where he apparently used to tell Tua he sucked in the film room to his face. So I guess he was right, but still, hopefully he's learned from that level of the player relationship dynamic. But he's obviously a really good coach, a really good. He won games in Miami. He's been a really good defensive coordinator. So that I think would be an interesting one for him. I just see this other comment in here from NY Jets fandom who says, "Will McDermott go to Miami?" Now we'll see if things are different, right? Stefanski, ink is dry. He's the Falcons coach. John Harbaugh, ink is dry. He's the Giants head coach. The rumors have been for the last couple of days that Jeff Hafley, he's the Green Bay Packers defensive coordinator. He was the head coach at Boston College, that he is going to be the next Miami Dolphins head coach is what the rumors say. Nothing's official yet. Does this change the mix? The Dolphins go, whoa. Like, wait a second. Let's recalibrate here now that McDermott has entered the pool. I'm not so sure. But the latest happenings in two more, so we may get two more today, Lurch. The Titans head coach finalists are Hafley, Robert Saleh, and Matt Nagy. Now, it looks like Saleh and Nagy are meeting with them today, so they could make that hire today. Hafley, again, is in Miami right now doing his meeting, and there's some whispers that he's not going to make it out. He's going to be the next head coach of the Dolphins, so we'll see on this McDermott level if, again, that potentially shakes some things up from that perspective. But that's what I would say there. So let's keep an eye out for that one to see if a change occurs.
What a season if you are looking for a coach to be out there. I mean, you just have incredible choices. Yeah. Offense and defense, veterans and young guys. There's just really a spray. What was the story? I'm trying to remember which team it was right now. I don't know why it's slipping my mind, where they might hire the 30-year-old who would be the youngest coach.
Oh, the Browns. So it's Grant Udinski.
The Browns. I was like, who is this guy? 30 years old.
He'd be the youngest head coach of all time.
The youngest coach ever hired as a head coach in the NFL. Youngest to ever be hired, starting the job at age 30, right? I know McVay was pretty early. He was in his early 30s.
32, right? I believe, was McVay. Yeah.
So there's a 30-year-old guy that most of us don't know anything about.
He just turned 32. He was 29 a couple weeks ago.
Who was being considered for a head coaching job in the NFL. Cleveland Browns.
Incredible.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Oh,
yeah, it's just absolutely bizarre. We're in bizarre times right now, Lurch. Again, a third of the league was open. I'm just. And
here's some since we haven't gotten to this yet. McDermott by the numbers. Okay, so 9 years as the head coach of the Bills.
Yep.
Overall record 98-50. That's a pretty good winning percentage. 8-8 in the playoffs. So if you have a bone to pick, but it's not that awful.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
And then, like I said, 17 total years in football. He spent 6 as the defensive coordinator in Carolina, and then another 2 as the DC in Philly before he became the head coach of the Bills. So 9 years, and he is out. Oof.
Yeah.
Is there somebody you like for this job, Boy Green? Do you see? To me, the Brady / Dable, okay, who literally are McDermott tree guys, essentially. I mean, McDermott had both of them as his right-hand man on the offensive side of the ball. Their OC. Like, does that make any sense? You fire McDermott, and then you bring one of his guys? Like, I don't know how that makes any sense to me. I mean,
I don't see that. Now, I don't know if you're suggesting potentially that Brady could stay with Dable, because Brady replaced Dable. So, maybe Dorsey, I guess, technically. So, anywho,
then Brady.
Right. So, anywho, the point is that if I'm Buffalo, what I'm trying to probably do is get an offensive guy. Despite what I just said about Flores and the intrigue of that, is that Josh Allen has not been, he is the reigning MVP. So I'm not trying to throw shade, but like the offense still hasn't been quite operating at the capacity it should be with a MVP level at quarterback. Their wide receiver room was not good enough. They did lead the league in rushing with James Cook. He was a leading rusher, so that's good. The offensive line is really good. And you have some interesting tight ends and stuff, but the wide receivers are a big mess. I would probably try to hire a really bright offensive mind. I don't know if I'm going with Grant Udinski, with all due respect, as the next guy, but I'd probably lean offense and just, again, I think the sales pitch, if you are whoever the offensive guy that would get hired in my made up scenario is, hey, you want to be the defense coordinator for Josh Allen on the other side? Like, that would be very attractive, I think, to a guy that doesn't get a head coaching job and ends up becoming a defensive coordinator. Like, that to me would be a very intriguing pairing. But who is that offensive guy? Stefanski's off the market now. I don't love, with all due respect, sifting through the trash of Brian Dable, who is here, and then you bring him back, but he's the guy now. And I don't love how things went in New York Giants land. There was the 1 year great sample size at the beginning, and then it all sort of fell apart. So I don't love that for Dable. I don't love Joe Brady. Like, let him go somewhere else.
I guess part of that is, they have intimate familiarity with both of those guys. They worked.
That's true. That's true. They should know him as well as anyone. Yeah.
And I would say this about Dable, and I'm not saying that he's the answer, but all I'm saying is, number one, they're incredibly familiar with him. And my overall recollection of him before he came to the Giants and when the Giants were considering him, was, he fit Buffalo really, really well. He's kind of a lunch pail kind of guy, had that immediate great connection with Josh Allen. There was a lot of like kind of cool Buffalo stuff around Dable, right?
Right.
Where's he from again? Where's Dable from?
Oh, let me
from
pull it up.
out that way. I don't know if he's from Buffalo, but I think he's kind of in that general area. Gosh,
so he was born in Canada.
Okay.
And he went to high school. He went to high school in Athol Springs, New York, and then he went to college at the University of Rochester.
Okay, so he's got that circle, right? Rochester is one city over, folks. For folks that don't know New York State, and an hour-ish from Buffalo, one city over. All Buffalo Bills fans in that town. Yeah, so he's got roots. He's got the roots too that connect him to the area and connect him kind of to the heritage of the program or the franchise, I should say. So, for those reasons, I could see him certainly being a high-level candidate for the Bills. If you're changing out from McDermott, then my thought is you change out to something completely different in hopes of getting to a Super Bowl. That's what their goal is, right? Their take today has to be, Sean McDermott got us to here, but our window is closing. Our quarterback is 30 now. We need somebody to get us to here, to the top. And so who's that guy? And my thought would be, again, who's that guy? Somebody that's done it before. So if you really want to talk about who's that guy, shouldn't that guy be somebody that has won a Super Bowl and knows how to do it? And there are a handful of guys available at this moment, or maybe could be had, that have that.
Hey,
shouldn't that be the answer for the Bills?
We have an official statement here from the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, okay.
Some interesting stuff in here. I'll read it to you guys. It's from the Bills announcing that Sean McDermott has been relieved of his duties as head coach. This comes from owner Terry Pagula. Quote, Sean has done an admirable job of leading our football team for the past. By the way, admirable is quite Terry Pagula, I guess, or his PR people. Admirable job feels very condescending. But anywho, Sean has done an admirable job of leading our football team for the past 9 seasons. But I feel we are in need of a new structure with our leadership to give this organization the best opportunity to take our team to the next level. We owe that to our players and to Bills Mafia. Sean helped change the mindset of this organization, was instrumental in the Bills becoming a perennial playoff team. I respect all the work, loyalty, and attention to detail he showed for this team and the community. I wish Sean, Jamie, and his family all the best. Here's where it gets interesting, and this is the next part of the conversation we have to have here, Lurch. Quote, moving forward, Brandon Beane will now serve as the president of football operations and general manager of the Buffalo Bills. Brandon will oversee all facets of our football operation, including the oversight of our coaching staff. I have full faith in and have witnessed Brandon's outstanding leadership style and have confidence in his abilities to lead our organization. End quote. Now, this is just the rest of it. Beane will be leading the search for a new head coach, will be working directly with the Pagulas, will now serve as their operations hiring team, blah, 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 blah.
So in the end, what they've done here is given Beane even more power, and he's
right
leading the search.
But here's the thing that I just want to throw a challenge flag on real quick and just sort of explore.
I know where you're going. Go ahead.
Why are we keeping Brandon Beane if you're the Buffalo Bills? Because here's an interesting stat from ESPN. Since the Bills drafted Josh Allen in 2018, they have drafted 56 players. All right, here's a quick trivia game, Lurch. Here we go. Okay, the Bills since 2018, since they drafted Josh Allen, have drafted 56 players. How many of those 56 players do you think have been Pro Bowlers? Of the 56 that he drafted.
Wow. Out of 56 people, how many have been Pro Bowlers?
Been a Pro Bowler, yeah. since drafting Josh Allen. So Josh Allen doesn't count.
9.
2.
Wow.
Is the answer to that question. And here are the 2. James Cook, Dawson Knox. 56 players. 2 have been Pro Bowlers. Shout out to Benjamin Solak of ESPN for that. And the whole point is that how do you discern? And this is a question Anthony will explore it more with Anthony Prohaska later this week. He was asking this before this McDermott firing news happened. He was asking over the weekend, and I have the same question. How do you discern what was a McDermott decision and what was a Bean decision? Because the Bills have landed in this place where they didn't get over the hump. Okay, now you assess the operation. You're like, you know what? Sean McDermott is not the guy, but Brandon Bean is. So who is responsible for the terrible drafting? Is that Bean or is that McDermott? And then, like, all of the decisions, roster decisions, coaching decisions, personnel decisions, like, you really start getting into the weeds here of diving through of who's responsible for the success and who's responsible for the blame and where things didn't go wrong. Because Brandon Bean went viral on social media last year, Lurch. Remember, he called into WGR 550, the folks over there in Buffalo, and he ripped the question about the wide receiving room not being good enough. And he went on this expletive-laden tirade about, hey, it's good enough. And you guys just like are basically like, come on, we can't do anything right. And then that was one of the big problems for the Bills this year. So obviously he must have had something to do with the wide receiver grocery shopping selection party. Why is he staying? That I think you have to have a clean slate here and just break it from the beginning. But obviously the Bills feel differently.
Yeah, there's no question. This is a faith move in Bean. And, in that statement, Paul, early part of that statement, I think I heard you say something like we need a change in the structure, right?
Correct. Which is what explains the Brandon Bean director of football the leader, whatever the official title is, right?
That's not changing
president of football operations.
Okay, we're changing the structure. We're making Bean the overlord. Like, if you thought that highly of him, he should have been doing that for the past bunch of years. It's not like he just arrived. Number 2, what are you saying, that McDermott was trumping Bean? I have never sensed that in all my years of covering the Buffalo Bills, that, McDermott was trumping Bean on decisions. It's always been Bean at the head of that table. McDermott's certainly a voice that was being heard, a voice that had ability to contribute to the equation. But I think the end all be all was Brandon Bean. That was always the way that I thought it was in Buffalo. So,
and now it sounds like they're blaming McDermott. Like he was the problem.
Right. Yeah. Like, it was, he's the fault that we only have 2 Pro Bowlers out of all those guys. He wasn't making those picks. Brandon Bean was making those picks ultimately. Brandon Bean had the final decision. It's the reason why we spent these last few days. I'm sure, again, more details I'm sure to come out with this as we talk to our Giants insiders about the whole contract situation with John Harbaugh. Obviously, when the Giants and Harbaugh met over the weekend, and before, they were talking a lot about power, what Harbaugh would and wouldn't have say on. And then, it obviously leaked out that they're going to have a deal. And then all of a sudden, now the language of the contract's being drawn up. And obviously, John Harbaugh's like, hold on a second. I really don't want to report directly to Joe Shane. I want to report directly to the Maras and the Tishes. And, when it comes down to we're split on this draft pick, I want it to be clear that I get to say whether we're going to go left or right. So that's what it sounds like. Again, we'll get more deets from our Giants insiders, but I think it was a little bit of that. This is a coach with 18 years of experience and a Super Bowl ring on one of his fingers saying, I don't want to be if we're going to be wrong, I want to be the one wrong. I don't want to be forced to be wrong because my GM has the say. And I think part of that might have been Paul, and I don't know if how much of the bottom we'll get to, not to deviate too much here on the Giants, but the Giants obviously have a contract with Joe Shane too. So did the Giants in some weird way have to change their situation with the Giants or their contract situation with Joe Shane, so that indeed in the end of this whole thing, Joe Shane had to accept a change in his contract so that the contract with John Harbaugh would be relevant. Like you can't just say, Harbaugh, you got the power. And then meanwhile, in Joe Shane's contract, it says he has the power, until until someone like John Harbaugh shows up. So I sense that probably what was going on in these last few days, at the Giants headquarters was, okay, we got to put a contract on paper here for Joe Shane. For John Harbaugh that gives him these powers. However, the contract we already have in place with Joe Shane says he gets some of these powers. So we have to maybe rewrite 2 contracts. So I don't know if it's going to come out that Joe Shane amended his contract or that the language in the new contract for John Harbaugh trump the old language in the Joe Shane contract. But whatever it is, I mean, there's no question at Giants headquarters, this was, a power struggle, and to make sure that John Harbaugh in his new contract had it on paper, had it, down in writing that, hey, I am, I'm in charge when it comes to these decisions, or I report directly to this person, or I have the final say on this thing. And I think that's all part of what we were seeing with the New York Football Giants. So look, it's, this is going to be fascinating because now Brandon Beane has, according to this Bill statement that we see right in front of us right now, been given overlord status of football operations and beyond. He's the GM and he's the position above the GM. So now, does that in some way limit what coach you can bring in here? Like I brought up just for fun, in some weird way, the idea of Bill Belichick. All right, let's just say Belichick was interested in the Bills and was interested in coaching Josh Allen. Would a Bill Belichick come in to a situation like this, knowing that Brandon Beane has been handed the keys to the city and ultimately he's the ultimate power lord? He's going to make all the decisions when it comes to the draft, when it comes to personnel, so on and so forth. That's not always something that especially a veteran coach like a Belichick would feel comfortable with. I mean, I think we even saw that in New England when Belichick was there. The other thing is, who else might that eliminate on the list? I mean, one of the most fun guys that everybody wants to talk about these days of being a head coach somewhere and getting back into football is John Gruden. Would a guy like Gruden want to come into a situation again like this if he were even offered an interview or offered a job like this, knowing that, again, Brandon Beane has all of this power, that he's the overlord of this situation? So, look, power struggles happen all the time in the business world and in the professional sports world for sure. And, look, it can be dicey, but sometimes that can very, very directly affect who it is that you are going to be able to hire as a head coach. I mean, coaches want to have a certain amount of power as well. Now, the younger ones, maybe not as much, but the ones that have been around the block, the ones that have rings on their finger that matter in this sport, certainly those folks, have a right to want to speak up and have things directly written in their contract that influence power in an organization. All right, well, today's broadcast, Boy Green will be right back, by the way. Today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Bayberry Automotive. I think it's a perfectly appropriate time to just take 30 seconds, learn a little bit more about our friends from Bayberry, and then we're right back. It's the Manchild Show with Boy Green live on a Monday. Enjoy. We'll be right back.
Integrity is a word that some people just throw around in life. But at Bayberry Automotive, integrity is everything. Integrity of their mechanics, who are all experienced and certified. Integrity in the work they perform, with nothing but 5-star reviews from satisfied customers on Google. Integrity that goes along with family, a family-run business that treats you like one of their own. Integrity in everything. Bayberry Automotive. BayberryAutomotive.com.
Located on Route 57 across from Bayberry Plaza, the premier choice for auto repair in Liverpool.
All right, we are back, a Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital, as we are talking about the breaking story of the day, and that is the Buffalo Bills this morning firing their head coach, Sean McDermott. Again, the numbers are pretty good for McDermott, 98-50 over 9 years as head coach of the Buffalo Bills. But we have now seen, for the third time, if you want to throw Mike Tomlin in the mix, then I guess it would be like for the fourth time this offseason, a veteran coach either electing to leave or being relieved of his position by his organization, just simply for the thought process here that the goal of this thing is to win championships. All right. The goal of this thing is to get to the finish line, is to be the top one, is to have the ring on the finger and be sailing the banner at the top of the stadium. And if you can't get that done for me today, then I'm going to try to find somebody else who can. And so this is, again, a bold move, certainly, by the Buffalo Bills to do this, because this is a coach that has been incredibly successful. He's been through some real trials and tribulations in his 9 years in Buffalo. And there have been some glorious victories, and there have been some, tragic / epic defeats, including the one that we saw this past weekend. I mean, wow, you can't get any more tragic and epic than that. So it's bold by the Buffalo Bills. I gotta give them credit. Now, I think the answer here, and Boy Green back with us now, is just where do they go from here? Okay, all right, you're making this bold move. The Ravens just made a bold move too. The Steelers and Tomlin decided to talk. Now they're going to have to make a bold move, but who are you getting? Who's next? The grass isn't always greener on the other side when it comes to these kinds of moves. So, Boy Green, your thoughts?
Yes, that's the thing. That's the risk here of Buffalo. But, if you're Buffalo, there are two guns on the table, and you're choosing your way to die. Do you die with razor blades and lemon juice, or do you die with a gunshot? What does that mean? Well, razor blades and lemon juice is a very painful way to go. It stings like the Dickens, and it's 1,000 paper cuts. A gunshot, it's just over. So we go through what they've been doing with Sean McDermott. They've been getting close, but not over the hump. Close, but not over the hump. Close. They're winning division titles. They're going to the playoffs. There's respectability around the league. Whoa, man. We got a Week 13 Bills-Chiefs matchup. That's a big deal. Bills are this serious regular season team, but when they get to the playoffs, they aren't over the top. Over the last 9 years, with all due respect to McDermott, they've been dying by razor blades and lemon juice. They've been getting all the way in. Now they are like, there is a limited window where we have this Josh Allen guy, and we want to, every year that we have Josh Allen should be a year we could potentially win the Super Bowl. And they are saying to themselves that they're not going to be complacent with just being relevant in the National Football League. We are going to take out a big piece, which again is risky because it could go one of two ways. It can work, and you can find the right guy that gets you over the hump. Go to our boy NBA style, Mark Jackson and the Golden State Warriors. And
you make the bold move. Yeah, I was thinking of that this morning. Go ahead.
Right, and then you just make that leap over. They switch out that guy. They bring in Steve Kerr, and suddenly again. Mark Jackson deserves credit for getting them to the 1 yard line.
Absolutely.
And getting them again, Sean McDermott, and again, while the admirable part I didn't love at the beginning of that statement, what I did love was the second paragraph that said, we wouldn't be here without him. Essentially, is that Sean McDermott brought us to respectability. He brought us to this perennial playoff contender. That's a standard on a year-to-year basis. He deserves that. So in the same Mark Jackson way, which led to Steve Kerr, could Sean McDermott be the preface for whoever the next guy is that gets him over the top? And if that does happen, Bills fans should go, you know what, Sean McDermott, thank you, because there is a level from going to just dumpster fire, 17-year playoff drought, to respectability, to now the next level of getting to that place.
I love this comment here by Mark. Mark, thank you for this. Once upon a time, the Buffalo Bills were very dysfunctional. Seems like they're heading back to the barn on that one. That could be where they go.
It's
that
true.
Could be. Like, they once were a disaster, and this guy gave them credibility. He gave them division titles. He even gave them some wins along the way, and even in the playoffs, but they couldn't get the ring.
Right.
Okay, is that reason enough to let the guy go? Ooh,
right.
Could they be headed back to that barn? You hope not, right?
Right. The other way to put it, right, is, and in Joe Burrow's case, at least he got to a Super Bowl. Josh Allen hasn't to this point, is that, Joe Burrow is awesome in his window of awesome. He's in the MVP race all the time. He's putting up video game numbers, but his team is not doing anything. Is that the next level, right? Because again, I told you it could go. The path could be two ways. You could get a new head coach in here, and it doesn't work. Josh Allen keeps being amazing because he's Josh Allen. It's going to be hard if you're a head coach to mess that part of it up. But you're not winning the playoff games. You're not doing those things. So he's just a superstar on a bad team. That could be another direction potentially it goes. So that's why it's so important for them to get it right. And again, it sucks for them, good for me as a Jets fan, that they didn't, right? It would have been better for the Bills if they went one and done in the playoffs, because if they lost to the Jaguars last week, they would have had their pick of the litter of every head coach available. And I'm sure you're happy about it, Lurch, because again, if I'm John Harbaugh, and let's say this thing over the weekend didn't come to fruition, which by the way, there was a chance, not that it didn't come to fruition and then they're just not going to be married anymore, that the engagement was off, but that it was off enough for Josh Allen to enter the mix. You're like, oh my God, am I gonna? And then imagine the egg on the face of the Giants. They went all in, hardcore, full court press, and they didn't close the deal when it mattered. And all of a sudden he skipped over to town to Buffalo and Giants are left holding the bag. Oh my goodness. So again, for the Bills, it would have been better for your future to lose last week because you would have had the choice of Harbaugh. You would have had the choice of Stefanski. You would have had the allure of LaFleur. That could have potentially happened in a potential trade situation. Right. Now all those names are off the table. Again, everything happens for a reason. Maybe they're going to get a wonderful head coach replacement that just becomes available here, but we'll see.
Yeah, timing is everything. That's why I said once Harbaugh became available and we talked about it, I was like, you got to get on this right away. Like, you just don't know what tomorrow brings. Mm-hmm. Like, we weren't all thinking, McDermott's getting fired tomorrow or the next day or the next day. So you get that guy in a room, you, as we said, lock the doors and don't let him out and say, we'll give you, what do you want? We'll give it all to you. Just come and be part of us and let's get this thing done. Let's set up the presser. And fortunately, albeit with a few snags along the way, and that's what I was talking about when you stepped away there for a minute, was just the power struggle that was perhaps going on in New York, and the fact that Joe Schoen has a contract, and that Joe Schoen's contract might have language that says he has power over these decisions, and maybe they were reworking 2 contracts here over the weekend, Boy Green. I don't know if we're ever going to find out all the deets of that, but it seems logical to me that they had given Schoen a certain amount of power in his contract. I mean, Joe Schoen's no dummy. He's going to get things written into his contract. Now, John Harbaugh saying, no, I want that power, and now you have to rewrite both contracts. You got to give Harbaugh a contract that says he has the power, and you have to rewrite Schoen's contract to say, this is the new structural organization here, and we're going to write a new contract for you, Joe. This is why we're keeping you. And then if, maybe if Schoen disagreed, they could fire him. I mean, potentially, or just say, well, then we're going to fire you. I mean, this is what we need to do for our future. So I'm sure there was some bartering there, whether it was all on paper or not, but it certainly seemed like to get Harbaugh on paper, they had to get Schoen on the same page. And that's not always the easiest thing to do, but it did work out for the Giants. I'm glad that Joe Schoen was willing to accept whatever the Giant ownership brought to him in terms of getting that done so that John Harbaugh could be in here.
And I think you assessed it beautifully. That was sort of my read on the situation, that I thought that's exactly what happened. John Harbaugh has pushed this to the goal line and say, okay, let's do this thing. Whoa. Joe Schoen, with all due respect, I'm cool working together, and that's what's about to happen. But yeah, working together, not for. We're on this, not this. And if it's this, it's me above you, not you above me.
That's why it's tough in today's world to stuff gets out so fast.
Oh, yeah.
Leaks everywhere these days, and it's so easy for those leaks to get into the mainstream media and eventually to into the fans' hands so quickly. You think of this morning, right? You and I were just chatting, doing our pre-production. All of a sudden, like, I'm hearing some things. Somebody's reporting. All of a sudden, boom! All of a sudden, Rich Samini's reporting that he's. And now you're like, there's a very credible, AFC East guy who's covering the Jets, but he covers the whole league and the whole division particularly, and his sources are now saying, okay, I think this is happening now. Sean McDermott, so with all the deep fakes and everything else we see on the internet, I can't even tell you over this weekend how many things I read on social. I was like, would you stop, please? That's not happening. They were firing the officials and, just crazy stuff. I'm like, how do I keep this stuff out of my, my life in terms of social? I mean, I love the benefits and the immediacy of social, but then you got all the kooks that are just out there basically putting out constantly fake stories to freak us all out and, make people jump the gun on stuff. Drives me nuts. Anyway,
right. 100%.
World we're in, I guess. I'm not going to commiserate about it, but it's just the world that we're in. Go ahead.
Lurch, let me ask you a quick one on this, because I expect Harbaugh to probably speak tomorrow with all that I heard. Yes. Does he get asked the question at the presser? Do you regret agreeing so quickly because the Buffalo Bills job opened? Does that at all come up at the presser, or is it all hunky-dory introductory stuff? Or does that get asked at point of Q&A?
I don't think that'll get asked at the formal presser.
Okay.
I don't think that'll get asked at the formal presser, but it would be intriguing if it did.
To hear his answer.
If it does,
you have to punt. Be a pro. Be a pro.
He's absolutely going to punt. So it's not going to get the kind of answer that you're hoping for,
right.
Saucy answer of some sort, now.
This is just bad for business, right? Even if we all are like, come on. Right. And John's like, or even makes a joke about it.
As much as the media is in there every day to ask tough questions when they're out there.
Sure.
This is a tough one if you're in the media to raise your hand, and then that's going to be your question. I don't know. There's this kind of a like tomorrow. Assuming he has this press conference tomorrow will be a day of celebration that John Harbaugh, the longtime coach, has now landed on our doorstep, and he's our guy, and he's leading us going forward. And then you're going to be the one idiot in the room that's going to go, "Excuse me, you regret this decision right now because that Buffalo Bills thing just popped up out of nowhere, and hey, the Steelers are out there too,
Could you imagine how that tone changes though, right? Of the press conference. Oh, Harbaugh, how does it feel to go for this iconic franchise? And all this is like, yes, I love it. Jackson Dart, yes, he's terrific. And then that guy in the back, excuse me.
There's always a wild card in every room though, so you never know. But
oh my God,
I don't think so. I don't think so. But it won't shock me. It won't shock me if it does. It won't shock me at all.
Which I guess Harbaugh's got to be ready for in this market. So
yeah. By the way, we are obviously Boy Green closing in on our 475 mark for subscribers.
Yes.
So I've got the bubble wrap ready and the box ready.
Have you played the video yet?
I was going to say no, I didn't. Why don't you play the video? This is what we're giving away. I think we're only need like 5 more subscribers or less. So you can get in right now for absolutely free. You just go to youtube.com right there /@MC Show Digital. All right. And click the subscribe button and you are literally in the lottery for this. Go ahead, Boy Green.
All right, everybody. Our next giveaway is going to be right out of the Manchild's collection. These bobbleheads from the Anchorman, a collection of 4. Check it out. We've got Veronica Corningstone right here. Very cool. Brick Tamlin, the weather guy, the zany weather guy played by Steve Carell. Check out, yes, Brian Fantana with the Sex Panther in his hand. Very, very cool. And then lastly, the sports nut Champ Kind. This collection of bobbleheads going out the door once we get to 475 subscribers. Subscribe now. It's absolutely free.
And I know, heartbreakingly, Ron Burgundy is not one of those bobbleheads. It's the story I've told before. I gave it away to a staffer when I was in radio years ago. I got this collection right after the movie came out. I don't think at the time I had any clue about the phenomenon of the movie. I don't even think when I gave away Ron back in the day to whoever asked me for it, I realized, how kind of iconic this movie would become, and it's kind of a cult classic. And I've watched it probably, 30, 40 times.
Oh, yeah.
Every time it's on, I can't. All right, I'm going to watch another piece of.
It's so quotable. It's a great movie. Yeah,
so quotable. It's very funny. So, but those 4 bobbleheads are going to go to one of our subscribers. Once we get to 475, we're just about there.
And we are 3 away. I'm hitting the refresh button. So folks,
we're on the air. That'd be phenomenal,
folks. That means there's only 3 spots left. If you want a chance to win all of those awesome bobbleheads from one of the most iconic cult classics of all time, Anchorman, subscribe right now. Be one of the next 3 people to do so. 3. That's all that's left. And then we'll have another big giveaway. So if you miss out, because only one person will win the Anchorman bobbleheads, stay on, because we have a 500 subscriber count, which is our big goal we're trying to get to. So what's the math on that, right? We're 28 away from that giveaway of doing the $500 golf club. So 2 big giveaways. Both of them are free coming up here on the channel. So help us grow the army. Again, it's youtube.com/@MC Show Digital. You could be watching the show in a lot of places. My YouTube channel, my Twitter account, what have you. We have over 300 people in the room, folks. So get it while the getting's good. A couple of free giveaways here on the channel @MC Show Digital. Subscribe right now.
Yeah, it's awesome. And again, thanks to every one of you who is already a subscriber. We appreciate your support. Again, we've only been out here about 6 months, so that's awesome. Yeah, so Macho Talk Sports says, yes, the Sex Panther. That's so damn cool. Yeah, he's holding that little bottle of Sex Panther in his hand.
And remember, folks, 60% of the time, it works every time. So
great line.
Oh, he just joined. Oh, wait, let me see the latest count.
Who just joined?
Macho Talk Sports.
Hey, Macho.
We are 2 away, folks. 2. Thank you to Macho Talk Sports for joining the growing army. We are 2 away, people. 2 people. There's 2 spots left for the Anchorman bobbleheads. Rush over right now. YouTube.com/@MC Show Digital. We can do it live here on the show, and we'll be giving that away. So, folks, 2 spots left. Get it while the getting's good. I've only promised this so many times. So, once 476, you're in for the golf club, but not for the bobblehead. So get it right now. And hopefully we could celebrate here on the show, Lurch. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. So, and then don't forget when we get to 500, which we're only a little more than 25 away from, we will be giving away that $400 golf club, courtesy of our friends at Play It Again. You've got it. All right, hold on. I got to reach over and get it.
Okay, that's all right. Okay, yeah, it's been a while since we've shown it.
Okay,
People may have
It's been
forgotten.
sitting in the corner here the whole time.
Okay.
All right, is a Cleveland Highbore XL. All right, for all you golf nuts out there, golf season will be here before you know it. Hard to even think about it here in central New York, the way the weather has been. All right. Still in the wrapping. Look at this. This is a never been hit, perfect condition, beautiful, adjustable little shaft there, adjustable weights in the back here of the driver, brand new grip. Okay, fantastic. Again, want to thank our friends at Play It Again Sports for donating that. And when we get to 500, which is a landmark for us, we will give that golf club away. So we got some good giveaways coming up.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. It's worth over $400. So again, if you're one of the first 500 people to subscribe to our channel, you're in the running for that. And again, right now we only have 27 spots left for that golf club. So again, what I would suggest, if you're out there in the audience, you want a chance at the bobbleheads and the golf club, subscribe right now. Be one of the next 2 people to do so, and you'll be in the running for both once, obviously, we reach both of those milestones. So good luck to everyone out there, and thank you, Macho, for jumping in on that Sex Panther, baby. 2 spots left for that bobblehead giveaway, which is terrific.
Make your plea. You know, sometimes by will you can will something into existence, right? Like somebody along the way. We've done a bunch of giveaways. Sure. Since we've been doing the podcast, and somebody like directly mentioned it, and then they won. I was like, it's like willing it to victory.
The gods,
right? Winners completely randomly. But if you're like, you know, you love the anchor man, you know, you will it into existence.
Who doesn't? Right?
You love golf, will the golf club into existence, because that's somehow like putting that karma out there sometimes really works, you know.
Although Lurch, that doesn't always work, because I was bringing it up earlier today on Boy Green Daily that wow, the Anchorman bobbleheads, this is cool. And then when I was talking about it, I said, you know what, I would love to win them. I love the Anchorman movie. And Jets Worldwide Snowball commented and said, I read the fine print. All employees of the MC Show digital brand are ineligible of winning. I'm like, damn it. I'm like, well, you're probably right. So, so Snowball earlier crushed all my hopes and dreams of winning the Anchorman bobbleheads. Apparently unavailable to me.
Yeah, right. Okay, so I was just taking a peek here. Remember, I've said that Ron Burgundy is out there.
Oh, you're getting a current price update?
Well, I was trying to see if I could find one quick. I remember searching on the web. I don't know if I'm going to have enough time here to do this. But yeah, nothing. There's a lot of different knockoff versions, different versions. This is the one that the movie company put out, you know, so this is this is the real deal. So right now I'm not seeing it. I think I saw one on eBay back when I was looking. So and it was Ron, but you got to make sure you get the same one. Like I'm looking and they've got one here, Brick Tamlin, but it's not Ron. So just looking for Ron himself. I don't know. I'll check on it before we do our live show on Wednesday and see if there's a couple out there, and then what are they asking. But I remember when I did this search, you know, a year ago, you know, I was like, oh, wait a minute, you know,
Lurch, we are one away now. We are one away. There's one last spot. Oh my goodness! So thank you to everyone who's joining in the middle of our show. So
we will definitively be, I think, giving us, you know, top of the show on Wednesday. Tune in Wednesday right at 11 o'clock,
so we can have time to draw it. Right, the winner.
You know, probably later today if we get to it.
Today. So one last person. So good luck to anyone while we're live here for a little bit longer. Again, folks, subscribe to that YouTube channel. You'll be eligible for our Anchorman bobblehead giveaway. So thank you to Macho Talk Sports and everyone else who's subscribing right now. We are one away from 475. Lurch, it's so cool, especially with how long it's taken for us to gain these subscribers, that of how much hard work it takes to build this community and piece by piece by piece. So it's going to be an absolute euphoric celebration when we get to 475, hopefully today, but also for 500 and all the rest as we continue on down the journey. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I told you, I'm super excited, like just to be now in a world where we can produce merch and be able to put merch out there for people to pick up. So we're starting with a very simple item. I'll introduce that item once we get to 500, but literally I'm expecting the items to arrive on my doorstep in the next, day or two. So,
terrific.
We'll see how they came out. I did a cool creative thing. We've got a cool logo that's going along with it as part of our VIP experience. So yeah, some big announcements coming our way and some cool stuff for sure, for people to benefit from following us and being a subscriber and being loyal to our brand. We really appreciate it. Like I said, we've been at this, I've been at this for nearly 30 years, television and radio. Paul joined me about 9 years ago. We've been working together, worked a long time together on radio. Now we've obviously unearthed this YouTube channel, and it's been a blast. It's so much fun to put content out, to be involved in these terrific sports stories. It's fantastic. So,
Lurch, it's happened.
Way to go, people. Way to go. Fantastic, man. People are so good.
100%. So this is terrific, exciting. Thank you, everyone. That guarantees, of course, that we'll be doing it. Our giveaway on the Wednesday live show. So thank you, everybody, for jumping on. Let's freaking go. This is great.
All right. 25 more to 500. That's a cool landmark. I just like the sound of it.
Yeah, it does. It does. There is an evenness to it for sure. Cool. There is, I'm trying to find some proper music or something to celebrate, us reaching this. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Here it is. Here he goes. Let me affect volume here.
See what Macho said? Look at this. He's getting too into the drawing now. He just subscribed from his wife's account. I love it. Like, go ahead, corrupt other people's accounts. Go do it. I don't care, man. Go get us some peeps. I bet you we can make your wife be glad that she has that subscription.
Well, now we're up to 476 subscribers now. So, wow, they continue to pour in. And awesome. Shout out to NC Green. I see he's gifting a Boy Green Coffee Club membership. And again, so thank you very much.
Membership NC Green. All around. Subscriptions all around.
Yeah, we're getting subscriptions. We're getting members.
Episode with the car rental. You just give them away.
Yeah,
you
that's
can't
right.
Just give them away.
Nope. And here we are.
You can't just take them. Reservations. You can't just take them.
Yeah. Everyone, can take the reservation, but holding the reservation is the other, which is great.
That's subscriptions away. We're giving them away.
That's one of the greatest bits I've ever seen in my life. And then he says, I'm going to go talk to my manager. And then he turns to Elaine and says, hey, this is what they're doing back there. She's talking to no one. So let's pretend to have a conversation. So when they come back out like this and move my mouth and pretend like I'm saying things, which is absolutely terrific. So thank you, everybody. We just passed it, and keep those subscriptions coming. So, Macho, your wife, children, anybody, get them to subscribe, because the faster we get to the 500 total, obviously the faster we're doing these other giveaways. So Anchorman giveaway, Booyah, bobbleheads, it's coming. We'll be doing that on Wednesday's live show. We'll announce who's the lucky winner of that. We'll draw that by a random draw. And then for 500, that's the next big one that's coming up. And then, hey, like NC Green gifting a Boy Green Coffee Club membership, maybe there's some memberships coming in the future for the MC Show digital channel, where you'll be able to do that in a different way. So we'll see. So NC Green, that got added to your raffle ticket prize. You get 10 raffle tickets to our contest. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. And man, this has been a pretty fun journey, Lurch, of doing all this here with all the memberships and everybody and breaking news. And man, this digital journey has been a different kind of experience for sure. And by the way, that membership from NC Green went to Mercy F8. You are now a member to the Boy Green Coffee Club. Nice. Thank you, Mercy. And thank you, NC Green.
We're not going to have enough time to talk about all the playoff games. I have to admit, I am awful at picking playoff games. I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. After having a very good week last week, I have turned back to myself when it comes to the playoffs. I went 0 for 4 in our pick segment, so that's going to be embarrassing to have to reveal on Friday, but I'm already very well aware of it.
Interesting.
Only one of my teams won that I picked, which is disappointing, but I do believe the Rams are going to win the whole thing, so I'm riding. My ride or die right now is the Rams. I lost the Bills, obviously, in heartbreaking fashion. I mean, if I just came out of the weekend with the Rams and the Bills, regardless of whether they covered or not, I would have been still been thrilled. Even 0 and 4, but I had those two teams still alive. Now I got to deal with the Broncos and the Seahawks and the Patriots, all teams that I thought weren't going to get there. Just disappointing. At least the Rams are still in it, but man, that sucks. But we can break it all down with Wasserman on Wednesday anyway, because we'll have a couple of games to move forward on. But yeah, it's oof.
Well, Lurch, you went 0 for 4. I went 4.
You went Oppo on every game from me?
Apparently, I didn't even realize. I didn't realize. So here are the ones that I picked, right? So let's
It's an absolute crime, just knowing how the segment played out, that I let you get away with Seattle on a lone wolf. And I said it at the time. I was like, I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have done it. I really shouldn't have done it.
How dare you people?
I honestly, while I don't like Seattle to go the whole distance, And I still, even despite their great performance, I still feel a little that way. I'm a little scared now, but I still feel a little bit that way. The fact of the matter is that I really didn't like him against the Niners. I really liked him against the Niners. I didn't think the 7 was that big a deal, but I've been so like anti-Sam Darnold that I just wanted to like stay on that pulpit, but it was just a dumb pick. So if I got one really dumb one wrong, that's the one. But it doesn't matter. I made the pick. I have to live with my conscience, but I let you have that one solo. But the others,
so 4-0, and here they are. So again, I just like the Broncos.
God forgive you for taking the Patriots as a Jet fan. I mean, just
I said it too.
Despicable thing just to get a win in the picks to take the Patriots.
And I want to make this clear.
Fans that are watching, he picked the Patriots.
I did, unfortunately.
He picked the Patriots.
So the Broncos won again. I was rooting for the Bills to lose, and also I just thought the Broncos are getting disrespected. They started as a 1.5 point dog at home. Like, how disrespectful! Even though they ended up being a 1.5 point favorite. So Broncos. I love Sammy in Seattle, and you bastards let me have the #1 seed in the NFC as a lone wolf. Okay, all day, baby. And then we go to the Sunday games, and I wanted Houston to win, but I didn't trust the offense, and that was the right decision. New England
out
beat
disaster
Houston.
Again. 2 weeks in a row of disaster. Come on, CJ. What are you doing?
And then I get the we could call it a backdoor cover, I guess, if you want to, but like 3.5, and Chicago loses by 3.
Come on,
chef's kiss, baby. 4-0. So I haven't counted up everyone else's picks yet, but I think a champion may just already be crowned.
Well, you're in position now. I mean, you'd have to probably lose out to lose it, probably.
And even then, I don't think so, because right ahead, I was 5-1 in the wild card, and if I'm 4-0 now, I've got 9 wins. Who the hell's catching
depends,
me?
I guess, what Matt did.
Matt, right?
Yeah. So it's you and or Matt. That's it. It doesn't matter what anyone else did. Even this week, they're not going to be able to catch up with you going 4-0. You've way distanced yourself. So it's just a matter of what Matt did, because I was awful. Now I know Matt and I weren't together on every game, but we were definitely together on a game or two. So you definitely beat Matt. The question is, how badly did you beat him? I don't remember how many games he was on in my corner or not, but we agreed and disagreed on some games. That's my recollection.
So that means he must have obviously got a handful of those.
So yeah, maybe he's 2-2. It could even be 3-1, or it could be 1-3. I'm not sure, but he's not 0-4 like me, because he wasn't on the same teams that I was on across the board.
Because I know, Lurch, you took a lot of greatness, and over here sitting on this desk, because we still have to organize it all, as the fantasy championship, and you being crowned and saying, "Oh, this is going to be great." And then Paul, the pizza is going to be great. Let's invite everyone out and do pizza.
Yes.
That you can have none of course, but that I want you to be there to see it all, like a sicko. But should we have some sort of a trophy for the playoff champion? What a great challenge it is to pick them from a week-to-week basis for a handful of games when it matters most, when the light shine brightest. I think we should crown me in some way. I'm going to be honest. Yeah.
Picking games is hard, man. Picking anything,
especially in the playoffs. In the playoffs, it is incredibly, uniquely difficult.
It really
to
is.
be able to do this.
And I can't seem to get anything right in the playoffs. I like to bet parlays. I'm a big parlay guy.
Sure.
And I bet a parlay in each of the 4 games this weekend.
All right.
All of them were either 3 or 4 leg parlays. Okay.
Uh-huh.
I always do that. I always go at least 3 legs.
No, I thought you were going to say something else, that 3 or 4 of them were wrong.
So they're all 3 and 4 leg parlays. Okay.
Yeah.
Of all of those picks, all right. Let's just for to make it easy.
For conversation, right?
Let's just say they were all 3 leg parlays. That means I picked 12 different things to happen.
Right. Yep.
How many do you think I got right? Out of 12. And it was more than 12, actually. It was probably more like 14, because I think.
Okay, I'll give you more than 0. I'll say 3.
1. I got 1 thing right and 13 or 14 things wrong.
Ooh.
And like some of them were really close. Like I missed by a yard. Like Colston Loveland, I had an over on his receiving yards, and he gets hurt, never goes back in the game. He's a yard short. I'm like, come on, finish, throw the ball. What? Good grief, just crazy, heartbreaking stuff that can happen to you when you put your money down on things. But yeah, I just had a miserable picks, miserable. I like to do the player props, and I like to do the player props most of the time. Sometimes I might pick a game or an under or an over, and include it in the combo, in the parlay. But I like to do the player props. I love to look at them and then really try to think who's going to perform well, who's going to perform under par, and do the over under stuff. Of course, injuries and all that kind of stuff can screw you up, as it did with Colston Loveland, who got hurt at the end of that game, and clearly easily topped those yards if he was in the game. I mean, Cole Kmet caught that miracle play. Hey, I wanted to ask you this because I know what stay much.
Yeah, I do
want to ask you this.
Well, real quick, Lurch, before you get to I want to give the opportunity. If you want to, you can. If you want to, you can.
If you want to crown them, then crown her.
You can crown me. You can grab. No, go ahead. What do you have to say?
All right,
Yeah.
I bow. This is great for anybody in the comments. You want to comment? I was going to ask you at the beginning of the show to put up a poll on this, but then we got into this McDermott thing right off the top, and it's story A. Better play.
Okay.
You have to make a decision now. Better play. The Butte one-handed catch or the Caleb throw. Better play. The Butte catch or the Caleb throw.
Oh, it's easy for me.
Either of those two play. It's easy for me too, and I wonder if we're going to agree. But it's easy for me. I wonder if we're going to choose the same thing.
So again, the booty back of the. Oh my God, that was just an all day. Like people were dropping normal passes in the wintry mix of conditions. So to have him one-handed in the end zone on one of the best corners in football, Derek Stingley, was insane. But come on, man, Caleb Williams on where it's do or
running
die.
For his life.
Right, and
He's 20 to 25 yards behind the line of scrimmage by the time he launches that, and
the situation
bearing down on him. He's like
on fourth down.
Back foot. Oh my God.
And so, to me, it's clearly the Caleb Williams play. But you factor in you factor in just the play itself. If it was first down, second down, third down, doesn't matter. But then you factor in that it was fourth down and that it was do or die. If he misses that, the game's over and he loses. His team is out. So to circle back, Chris Berman, back, and then just, and then so he chucks it, and we're all like, it feels like it's going in slow-mo. You're like, there's no way. Like, it's just a random Hail Mary shot. Maybe like a couple of guys are going to jump up, and I see Loveland clearing out. I'm like, no way. And he catches up, like, no way. And I'm like freaking out to myself. It's me. It's Komet. I mean, and it's just me and my daughter in the living room watching. I'm just like, that's unbelievable. And then the crowd's electric. And I love that Tirico and Collinsworth just shut up. Just let the crowd know. Shoot to pants of the crowd as they're losing it. And you're just like, oh my goodness, they are the Miracle Bears. Wow, they're the team of destiny. They can't be stopped. In both situations, right? You're the Bears, you're like, that just happened. And Sean McVay shot on the sideline with his headset just went this like.
I was stunned. Stunned. I mean, when he launched it, I was like, oh God. I mean, like, this is what they're going to do on fourth down. They end up with this. Like, oh my God, But
I thought they were going to go for two, though. That's the one too. Yeah, when they hit it, I'm like, but here's I like that they didn't for two reasons. So first off, okay, let's just say you get it. There's around 17 seconds left, and the Rams, I think, have one or two timeouts. I think they have two timeouts. But they look at the clock and they're like, this. Once it was overtime guaranteed, they're like, well, this isn't worth it. Let's just play our chances. Right. But I wonder if they're like, well, if we lose if we don't do this. Are they motivated enough?
Why can't we do it in 17?
100%. And then they could have done it.
In 13. Why can't we do it in 17?
Yeah, unbelievable.
But wow. Okay, I agree with you. We're in agreement, actually. I think the Caleb play was, Booty was incredible, but that Caleb play, the fact that that ball, by the way, they mapped it. I saw it on one of the talk shows this morning on TV. They mapped it was 51 yards. So with two guys bearing down on him, after backpedaling some 25-ish yards behind the line of scrimmage, just literally running for his life to have an opportunity to toss something. Right. He heaves one off his back foot that goes 51 yards. Okay. There's two guys supposedly down there. It's double coverage down there essentially on Komet. And somehow he gets open. He just gets a little bit of a contact with the defender and just gets back. And the defender for some reason moves forward. And all of a sudden he's wide open, theoretic, considering how long that ball's in the air. The defense should just be moving right to the ball and hands up. And instead he's, literally wide open. That was just unbelievable. I've never seen a crazy play. That is right up there to me with Manning's throw to Tyree in the catch. Because Manning was, he didn't run 30 yards back, but Manning was he was almost tackled, he's scrambling, then he was like off back, he just, just get it out of here, anything to down the field. And then somehow it's right in the perfect place for David Tyree to make that crazy catch. And that had both elements. That had the throw and the catch. This one was
and it's a Super Bowl, right? All these things.
Here we go. Touchdown. Like, what the heck? Komet had to be like, you got to be kidding me. Like, I'm standing here. That was crazy. That was absolutely. That's why we watch. That's the greatness of sports right there on display. Yeah. It's never over till it's over. The craziest things can happen. And that was as insane a moment as possible. All right, look, I know you've got some important things to deal with
Yes.
today, so we'll dip out here. But we're back live Wednesday again. We'll have our full entourage of guests. We will definitely follow up on this Buffalo Bills story. We'll have Anthony for sure on Thursday, but maybe we'll even do something before Thursday potentially. If especially if there's anything else that goes on here in this movement. Is there a candidate that suddenly quickly emerges? We'll be all over this Buffalo Bills story. And obviously the Harbaugh presser likely tomorrow.
Yes.
We have some very direct reaction to that. So we'll try to really be on top of things this week. It's another great news week for football. And we'll in more depth break down the 4 games a little bit with Dalton on Wednesday, since we didn't get a lot of chance to do that today. Thanks to all of you who have jumped in on the subscriber front. The bobbleheads are going out the door. We will choose our winner later today, and we will announce that winner at the top of Wednesday's live show. So looking forward to doing that. My bobbleheads are going, man. I'm so sad.
Yeah.
And I'll hunt a little bit to see if Ron Burgundy's out there. If somebody wants to complete that
yeah, sure.
I'll see what kind of ducats are out there for Ron Burgundy. I could have gotten him for a reasonable price. I probably would have got him myself and given away.
Yeah, right.
But I'm losing the rest of them. What's the point?
Yeah, right. It's a good point. That's a good point. Let them in the audience.
My hard-earned money on that, but if you want to complete that collection, you could. It's very, very cool. Very, very cool bobbleheads, and those are the originals from the movie collection. Boy Green, final thoughts if you have any.
Yeah, I mean, just again, stunning news. I love doing this. I love that we have the ability to now press a button and go live immediately. Yeah. For me, I'm an hour away from the radio station. So back in those days, first off, there was no button for us to just immediately go live and cut off national programming. So we weren't allowed to do that anyway. But like in this new digital world, these are the exact moments that it's for. And to have immediate conversations with the fans and the stunning news. And again, this sport is so beautiful. There's the elation of winning, and then the Bears fans I just talked about, that crazy play, and then the Bears end up losing. You're like, oh geez, that you rode this emotional roller coaster. Like, this is great. We're gonna go. We're a team of destiny. We're going to the NFC Championship game. No, wait, we're now not. Caleb throws that bad pick at the end, and God. So I just love it. This sport is so great. We've got a Final Four coming up this weekend in Conference Championship weekend. We've got a break before the Super Bowl, and man, this is going to be a wild ride. So thank you to all the fans that pushed us over the top. I love it when we can have those live moments of like 475. So I can't wait for the 500 one. That's going to be a biggie.
Thanks for everybody that jumped in. And so another prize going out the door, and a big one to come at 500 with this golf club. I've been looking forward to getting this thing out of my corner of my room and giving it to somebody who can go out on the golf course and actually use it. So that'll be phenomenal when we get to 500, hopefully sooner rather than later. Also coming up this week, we will talk with our SU insider, Neil Adler. I didn't get a chance with all the news today to even mention it, but a very disappointing loss for Syracuse basketball. Orange, they go up to Chestnut Hill and lose to Boston College, a team that's under 500. Brutal. They do have 2 games this week that can get them, that are good teams in the ACC that could maybe get us to forgive them for this loss. But man, it's too much of this has been happening with the Syracuse basketball program in recent years. And Adrian Autry is going to be up against it if this team doesn't make the tournament this year. And that was a big, big blow the other night. So they're going to need to redeem themselves. We'll talk all about that with Neil Adler, our SU insider. This is a game that Syracuse was leading by 7 points late in the game in regulation against a lesser team and couldn't hold on. And then go into overtime and get mauled and end up losing, I don't know, like 8 or 9 points or something. I mean, just bad loss for Syracuse, a game they, you hate to say it, they had to have, because it's a team you should beat, and they were on a nice winning streak, and they could have rolled into this more difficult part of their schedule here, coming up with some of the better teams in the ACC off a win, and now they're like licking their wounds off a terrible loss where they blew a 7-point lead late in the game. So we'll get into that with Neil later in the week, but I know there are a lot of Syracuse basketball fans who tune into the show, so I promise you we'll give you some coverage on that a little bit later in the week. Hopefully maybe there'll be a win before then, and we can talk about a loss and a win, but we'll see, because the competition level is now stepping up, and the Syracuse basketball team needs to get this thing on the rails quickly. And right now, not an optimistic feeling if you're a Syracuse basketball fan. All right, that'll do it for our live show today. We will see you live again on Wednesday. Lots of content coming your way this week, so just stay tuned. If you're subscribed, click those notifications so you know when we're putting out content, because there'll be a lot to come this week. Jets, Giants, Bills, top of list. SU basketball, as I mentioned, later in the week, and our NFL picks. I will wear a mask or a disguise on Friday to have to own up to an 0-4 playoff weekend against the spread. Disgusting, despicable display. All right, and Boy Green gets to do a little dance. It's going to be ugly. I'm not going to enjoy Friday's show at all. All right, folks, we'll see you. Take care.